Hey, this is Senate Natural Resources and Energy, and we, still the May 26th. And we have a few things on our agenda, to do, hopefully relatively quickly. We're gonna start with just reviewing what the committee conference did for H 325. So I'm happy to go into more details. I think the community conference report, I'm not sure where that exists right now, probably not on our website, it's probably in the calendar. But anyway, the big things to know about the committee of conference was that we kept the House's repeal of tier 3 and the road rule, and all the implementation and the associated rulemaking that went along with that. We spent most of our time talking about the accessory on-farm business amendment that came over from the House, and we narrowed the definition of an accessory on-farm business event, just to give that some clarity, and specifically said that these events had to feature a product, a qualifying product. Yeah, and yes, thank you, to a substantial degree. And then clarified that for events, they had to end by 10 p.m. and they could be at the boundaries of the property no louder than 70 decibels, which is roughly the amount of noise that you would get from like a dishwasher or like a highway. So that's there was some additional clarity there. All of that language came from H 128 of 2024, which was the last time, as I understand it, somebody took a crack at trying to clarify accessory on-farm business events. It's not all of their language, but it's a lot of it. And also knowing that there's probably the need for more input on that, and we probably don't have it fully right, and we weren't going to get it right totally in the conference committee. And so we debated, should we have it be effective now but include a sunset, which would force a conversation next session and fully welcome that conversation, or alternatively, should we just have it go into effect 1 year later so that we could have more time to get input. And we opted with that latter option in the spirit of a lot of the feedback that we got was people wanting more input on policies, and so that's the direction that we chose to go. Again, welcoming and hoping that we have more conversation next year. And I suppose if we don't, that's the default. It goes into effect July next year. So those are sort of the three big pieces to know. I can tell you more about what the House changed. That might be useful. So they added they tasked the natural resource conservation districts as well as Vermont Council on Rural Development to come up with a plan for how to engage Vermonters on whatever comes next, in terms of how are we going to prevent the loss of working lands, for example, and one of the things that I included in the conference committee report was thinking about what are the barriers to people stewarding their lands, and so that's another thing that was added. That they added, which we agreed with and tweaked very slightly. And then they also added an oversight committee for a joint oversight committee for the Land Use Review Board, since we felt like there's some difficulty with either communication or interpretation of the statutes, and so that should help with that. It sunsets and what's that? In 29, and then we tweaked that to ensure that we had an equal number of senators and House representatives on that committee, and then there's there's no longer, since there's no more road rule, there's no more tier 2. So the tier 2 report is gone and they replaced it with a different report that includes a review of accessory home farm businesses.
So is there a tier 1?
There's still a tier 1.
Okay.
Though I could imagine that at some point in the future, maybe we rename it because it'll be a vestige of this of this year, basically.
Getting rid of tiers.
Yes, we're getting rid of the tiers. I think we could call them like delegated municipalities or something, but
That's it no longer makes any sense.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
yeah, just be really clear about what it is. So those are, they did also make some tweaks to our language, that again, I can go into further. I do have it more in the floor report, but those are sort of the big things.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? They took the Matos amendment and reworked it. So it's still in there in some form.
About the Benson.
The Benson amendment they took out, the reason being, and I thought this was fair, was that it created a situation in which it was possible to have housing projects that have no review. And so that didn't make sense. So it felt like that was an okay move. And would just encourage municipalities to adopt zoning or subdivision bylaws. That would help. Let me just make sure that I'm not, they also moved the interim exemptions from 2030 to 28, which was a year after the regional planning maps were updated, so they had some logic for why they moved those up. They think, they removed our striking of the word rare. Yes. We had struck the word rare in the list.
Yeah, no, I remember that, but I thought that was, everybody agreed on that. That's weird.
They had very strong feelings about this. And there's a database that's like the rare endangered database, which people can access, which already includes all of that. Apparently also the land use review board has already issued guidance on how to do this. Plus, it doesn't necessarily say what the municipalities have to do, they just have to have some plan, it just has to be addressed in some way, so it doesn't. They were like, municipalities can do this, it will be fine, so if it turns out to be a problem, we will hear about it, and we can address it again another time. I think that is, it included the 941 language about energy and enhanced energy plans, sorry, this is more detailed.
Okay.
So there we go, that's pretty much it. Cool. Thank you. Since we have, yes.
Are we in support?
Yes. I don't know that we need to,
Okay.
but you're okay with this?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, he did vote for the council.
It was you three.
It was us three. Okay. And
Terry voted for?
he voted for
You
it.
voted for
Yeah.
it, okay, good.
It was unanimous.
It was unanimous, yeah. Okay, great. So we're gonna move to 212. Because we have 212 back in the house. I have some questions. We do have a side by side, which I think I might have sent to you. Great.
Also section by section summary with the house additions highlighted, things like that.
I'm a fan of the side by side. I don't want to steal your thunder, but as I was reading through this, what I saw was where we said, so on, I guess it's page 4 of the side by side, where we said that the secretary can adopt general permitting for low risk, low impact, and low complexity projects. It looks like they added more specificity.
See, that's exactly what they did, the chair especially was not comfortable with just a broad grant of authority for what is low risk, etc. The committee decided to specify what those projects would be. They asked ANR to propose the types of projects that they considered falling underneath the language that you had. And they wrote out exactly what those are. So there's subdivision of property. There's boundary issues that can occur with your permitting. There's potable water supply, small potable water supply, design flow of less than 1,000 gallons per day. And similarly, small wastewater treatment systems with design flow of less than 1,000 gallons.
Okay, the one question I have about this is. In 2 or 3. I mean, when I read 3. I just don't want this to be misconstrued. To mean something broader than is what is meant here. So may adopt a general permit under this chapter for boundary line adjustments. For improved or unimproved lots. Is anybody gonna interpret that to mean? Changing the boundary of your property?
It
If they could,
it's basically about where, when you are going to subdivide or where you have previously subdivided, and there's a question about where the boundary line is for the purposes of potable water supply permitting, they will have a general permit for how to determine that.
and it would all be related to
It's all under
The-
wastewater.
the,
potable
okay,
water.
so they're not gonna go outside the lines of, okay. I think that was my question. Any other questions on this part? Okay, great.
So the next. I'll stick to the big changes.
Yeah.
Next big change was section 4A. Which is on page 8 of the side by side. There was a floor amendment to add a report back on what is called overshadowing. Overshadowing occurs when isolation distances from your potable water supply or your wastewater system extend onto the property of your neighbor. Because Vermont follows what's called the first in time rule. Whoever is first in time in installing the system has the benefit or allowance of the isolation distance going on to the neighbor's property. That can create limitations on the neighbor's property and what they can do or what they intended to do on their property, and it creates tension. Until 2007, there was no even requirement that the neighbor be notified that their property was overshadowed. There's still there's notification now. But the statute kind of just leaves it up to the neighbors on how to deal with that. This report will address why is overshadowing an environmental or public health benefit and a scientific and technical basis for it. What are some of the alternatives to overshadowing that would prevent or significantly limit it? And how often does this occur? So data on the frequency of occurrence and how it's resolved. And then additional steps that the agency can take to support the resolutions of issues that may occur.
Wait, can you say what overshadow views again? I don't think I understood.
So it's like you site your well
Yeah,
and within 50 feet of your well, there's not supposed to be certain activities.
okay,
And that 50 feet extends off of your property onto your neighbor's property. And that portion that goes onto your neighbor's property is called the overshadow.
oh, okay.
And so that is what that is.
And so if you have a well and it overshadows onto your neighbor's property, they are not allowed to do something.
Depending on what they want to do, it's very possible that they will not be allowed to site a wastewater system there. They may not be able to put another well there. They may not be able to do certain drainage activities there, and so they're potentially limited in what they can do on that that parcel. And when this first came to kind of legislative action in 2007, it was because people were seeking wells to intentionally what their neighbor could do.
Oh.
They're called
Wow.
spite well.
Might well.
Wow.
And so the one example was that somebody wanted to maintain their view and sank a well where it would extend to the extent that the neighbor couldn't build in that view shed. And so other states do it differently. Other states require you to have a legal easement. New Hampshire requires you to sign a release if you have a neighbor. Other states require compensation. So that's one of the things that I will informally be asked to do this summer. Because we were gonna ask the Vermont Bar Association Real Property Section to opine, but A&R is like, we're technical, we'll do the technical stuff. You don't really need to talk to the BBA, because we don't really understand that, but so. That's why it's limited to the technical A&R jurisdiction. And the House Committee is gonna ask me to do research on how the state's handled.
Sounds like you've already started.
I've it before.
They're done.
Excellent.
And then the next major changes are on page 12. This is in the A&R permit fee section. Currently, there's a permit cap of $50 for potable water supply or wastewater system that's within one of the designated areas. And there's already an allocation of sewer capacity from that, so. The problem is that now with all of the designated areas, that universe expanding. A&R did an estimate of what it would cost them if they had a $50 cap on permitting in all of those designated areas, and it was significant. Up to $500,000. And so they said, please take this cap away, because it will significantly limit our ability to, we might even have to fire some staff. In order to make budget if this is going to be that. So it was removed, it hasn't been used that much. Either because of lack of knowledge of it or because developers actually want to go through the whole process. Because of issues that are present on the property. So it's not a significant loss right now, but it could be a significant loss in the future if you go through with all the expanded universe of designated areas. Should I move on?
Yes.
So the next change is new language that you have not seen before. It is not related to septic and wells, the water supplies, the wastewater system. It's related to what are called pre-treatment discharge. When you have a wastewater treatment facility, and somebody is discharging or proposing to discharge, you may require them to do treatment of that discharge before it gets to the wastewater treatment plant, because of the nature of the pollutant that's involved, how the pollutant can affect the system. And it really, the fact that some of these discharges can actually significantly harm the system. An example you may know of or have heard of is breweries. When they discharge their BOD, their oxygen, can create a significant spike in pressure and out of wastewater treatment plant, which can create damage. So wastewater treatment plants require breweries to treat or somehow manage their discharges before it reaches the wastewater treatment plant. This is part of the NIPDES, the federal NIPDES, Natural Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. And Vermont was delegated authority for that permitting in 1974. And then Vermont was delegated the pre-treatment program in 1983. But many states, if not most, implement their pre-treatment programs through delegation to municipalities. I mean, think about it. Municipalities are the one running the municipal wastewater treatment plant. They're the ones that have a really significant interest in making sure that what's coming into their plants has been treated and isn't going to be harmful to their plants. But Vermont has not been doing it. And it's because that 1983 agreement was done under a separate way for EPA approval of pre-treatment. And it's just memorandum of agreement, and we had to reach out to EPA to say, is it okay to delegate to towns under that MOU? And they said informally, yes, it is. So what this language does is it allows A&R to delegate to municipalities a pre-treatment discharge permit system. And so instead of A&R having to go to all the industries or businesses that are discharging to your wastewater treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant would be able to do that. Some municipalities already do it because it's in their interest to manage their treatment facilities. So this will shift permitting from A&R to municipalities, potentially reduce duplicative permitting that may be in place already, and basically follow the model for pre-treatment discharge permitting across the country. With that said, because of that funky 1983 MOU, there's a contingent effective date that you can see on page 15. That pre-treatment authority, that delegation authority to the municipal POTW doesn't happen until A&R gets an official approval from EPA. Because all we really had was an email. And
In 1982 was an email?
no, all we had to say that it was okay underneath that 1982 MOU was an email.
Okay,
And so I think you want something
yeah,
because
we love contingencies.
and so those are the main changes.
Okay. Okay, I think that. I think that's it, but I guess I do have a question actually about the effective date, so. It's effective on passage except for 3 and 5. Take effect in July, but that's to give us time to hear back from the EPA, is that right?
No, so the effective date that previous A 2822 J14, that's that fee cap in those designated
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah,
So that goes away July 1, 2026.
yeah,
So because you may be expanding that universe of
Oh.
designated areas over the next year, from my understanding.
got you, I apologize, you were talking about section 8, the contingent.
Right,
The contingent effective date for this, for section 7. Okay, I'm with you now, that's the one that is contingent upon
yes.
the EPA authorizing us to do this, okay. Thank you. That's great. Okay,
And here's the section by section. Anything that was added by the house is highlighted and bolded. I
okay,
don't know if everybody wants one or not.
I will take one. Thank you.
Did the house, they roll call this coming out or what, no, right?
They roll called it an amendment. I don't believe they roll called the final bill.
Okay.
There was a lot of, they roll called 2 amendments. One did not pass, one did pass.
And there's voice vote the
And I think it was one, I can double check that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, it got a little tight, a little tense. on the floor, this is some of the questioning. There were a number of rules questions posed, a number of parliamentary issues raised.
So. I do want to keep going, I mean, unless. Senator Beck, you're waiting for that to.
No, I, go ahead, I'm trying to look it up and see.
Okay. Well, let me know if you change your mind on this, but otherwise I would like to concur on this. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah, I was just supposed to.
Okay.
I think we could both concur.
Okay. Sure, Senator, are you okay?
yeah, can I just ask a question on the discharge permit thing? So this is assuming the contingency is met and we hear officially from the feds. This would allow a town that has its own wastewater treatment facility to just work with the local entities, the businesses, without having to go through the state.
So the examples that were given, well, one is Burlington, which has been doing. They've been already working with their businesses. But they also have to get A&R approval. Middlebury is the same way.
Yeah,
Middlebury has pre-treatment
yeah,
as well, and they work with their businesses as well, with Cabot and
Yeah.
others. And so instead of having to go through two processes, the business now only needs to go through the last.
Okay. And if a municipality, for some reason, wants the state to still be involved, that can happen.
Right, this is a delegation, this is, you have to basically apply to be delegated.
Oh, okay, so it's not on a case by case
No.
basis, okay, got it, okay.
If you're happy with the way that A&R is running your pre-treatment requirements, or maybe you don't have any significant pre-treatment requirements.
Yeah,
Then you just say, or
got it, okay, thanks. Sure, I think your response sounds good.
Okay. Great, so 401 will concur with that.
Zero.
What did I say? Four,
You said 4-1.
oh, I'm sorry, 40.
Zero is, no, it's. the one
Yes,
side.
so yes,
Yeah.
401.
4-0 is the one.
4-0. Like this,
Zero.
Like me,
extra, there's an extra, yeah.
Double zero.
Double zero. Okay, so the next, so we don't have. Ellen and or anything about, okay. Okay, right, so the only other, thing that I would point folks to is H740. It is in the calendar today, the Committee of Concerts report, thank you. There was one change that the Committee of Conference made to H740, which was that this was not necessarily language that we would have paid close attention to because it is further up in the section because it references the greenhouse gas inventory that's done statewide, that's already being done. So this is the statewide data inventory. As it turns out, that is scheduled to sunset in 2028. And so because the more granular data that we would be collecting through H740 has there's a logic to having it corroborate or align with the statewide data as well. But if we if that more granular data from H740 is adopted, if they have to adopt rules by 2027, that means that you might start collecting data for like the second half of 27. And then if the greenhouse gas and the statewide one sunsets in 28 and they're backwards looking, they're looking at 27 data, then you're not going to be able to align those things. And so the House caught that, and we're proposing that we push out the sunset of the big one to 2030, which we probably need or would be useful anyway. That would give us a couple of years to align that data. And that was me.
Okay.
Okay. I would, oh, well, I mean, it's a committee of conference report, so I don't know if you all have questions on that. Great, so that's.
Sure.
That's that, and then would love to review. The new amendment from Ellen, we do not have Ellen, so, we will, it does have some recommendations. I saw a draft, but we're reworking it, so. Well, we,
Go get lunch and come back just before the floor.
that sounds great. Yeah.
Hungry.
No, that's the same, so we're gonna break, we're going back to the floor at 2.
Yeah.
Can we aim for, I don't know if you have access to Ellen's schedule right now, or,
45.
yeah, 1:45, does that work? Does that work for Ellen, do you think?
So.
Okay. Okay, so we'll check back in at 1:45, hopefully we'll have you grab it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, okay, with that, we are, oh wait, we have Ellen.
Oh.
Hello. We're gonna unadjourn, did we adjourn yet?
I don't need to.
Okay. Hi.
All right.
Do you have this new draft?
Yeah, it's posted on your website.
Okay, amazing. Okay, it's posted on the website, so.
Did you post it?
No, the community assistant.
Oh.
Oh, okay,
I didn't know that.
I apologize. Tuesday.
It's draft 3.1, 2.1 and 3.1 are both posted.
So we're looking at 3 point. Yeah. Oh, my computer has decided to.
Happened, yesterday for a while.
The server was damaged.
Yeah.
Okay, 3.1. Okay, I just to walk through this a little bit, are you all looking at it?
Yeah.
This, and what are we, the amendment for what now?
Page 710.
And it was draft 3.2.
We're looking at 3.1,
And
Of Snre.
Oh, there it is, okay, got it.
should be down at the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, so I just changed a little bit of the phrasing.
Well, this is documented within this one.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because I was interested in solar energy generation projects, not just specifically ones related to tier 2, renewable energy, so that it eliminates that in 1 and in 5. And then B on page 2 has the language that we talked about in terms of having recommendations. Anything you want to say about?
No, just let me know if I captured it accurately. Sure.
That's fine.
Okay, great. So on this as a substitute amendment, straw poll, all in favor? Great, okay, so we'll do 4-0-1 on that. Okay, great. I think that's it. So I'm gonna send this to Melissa.